What's up, everybody? The NFL season is right around the corner as all 32 teams are slowly making their way to reporting to training camp, all in hopes to claim the one and only thing, that Lombardi trophy. So, with me saying all of that, we're going to see so many great games. Out of the 272 games, we got to think about beautiful matchups that we're going to see. We're going to see Josh Allen go through a gauntlet of quarterbacks just to prove his reigning MVP title status and see if he can defend it this year. We'll see the number 2 overall pick in Travis Hunter, the dual star out of Colorado, have to take on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins one week and then have to turn the corner and have to face Patrick Surtain, an all-pro DB for the Broncos, another week. You may be asking yourself, what makes these the most anticipated matchups for this season? Well, I broke them down into 3 categories. One, we have revenge games. That's self-explanatory. It's all about good old-fashioned rivalries and hatred and getting back to the old teams or the old players who stuck it to you before. Next, we have the chess matches. Now, these are just a game with a master of minds, watching beautiful X's and O's take place and how fun it is when you get to catch it happen. How is one team going to beat another team? This is about boxing, the two-way tango, punch counter punch. That's what the chess match is. Then we have the playoff caliber showdown. Now, those games, that's when the atmosphere is at its livest, and there's a high chance that we could see these two teams meet off again. This time, instead of it being a regular season, it's for a chance for a win or go home scenario, do or die, and that's when it feels right. So that's how we'll look at it. Let me guys get you ready for what we're going to see as some of the most anticipated matchups of the 2025 NFL season. First, I want to dive into revenge games. And what makes a good revenge game? Could it be a player returning to his old stomping grounds? Could it be the divisions that make it a good revenge game? Could it be the underlying stories that go into it? Well, for this, the first revenge game I have on the list is Steelers at Jets, week 1 at MetLife Stadium. Now, we all know why this is a revenge game, right? Aaron Rodgers is returning to the New York Jets after his 2 years there, and they were very abysmal. First year, he tears his Achilles. Year 2 definitely wasn't the greatest we all seen, even them getting Devontae Adams, and it just didn't work out. So what makes this the ultimate revenge game? Well, now he's in the old Steeler black and gold. And can the 41-year-old turn back the clock to prove his what would have been his head coach, Aaron Glenn, the new Jets head coach, wrong and say that you shouldn't have cut me and I was still the guy for this franchise? Also, Justin Fields, the former Steelers quarterback, will be playing against them. So we get to see so many things here that plays a factor in it and what makes it a good revenge game on both sides of the party. How will this all pan out? Garrett Wilson's going to be looking good. He's ready to play after getting his new contract with the Jets. But now think of these two quarterbacks. Both were told they weren't good enough for their respective teams. One's trying to turn back the clock. The other one's trying to show that he still belongs in this league and that he was worthy of a first round caliber draft pick. Did the New York Jets find their quarterback of the future? Is Aaron Rodgers going to prove the Jets wrong? We will all find out as this game goes along. So that makes it its first ever revenge game. Now, some revenge games are revenge games that's been built in years of dislike or years of history. And this one, how about two coaches who've had history dating back since the 80s and now where they are now, seeing each other again? Familiar faces in new places. Let's look at week 13, November 30th in SoFi Stadium. We got the Raiders versus the Chargers. Now, you may be asking yourself, how is this a revenge game? Remember what I said. These are two coaches having a history dating back to the 80s. We're looking at Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh. How is this a rivalry? How is this a revenge game? We all remember the famous years of when they were in the Pac 12 and they were duking it out, or what was then known as the Pac 10. Then we had the infamous handshake of '09. Then we fast forward to the NFL and we see these two coaches again battling it out for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And that's what happens when you put a sorry receiver like Crabtree on Richard Sherman. These two coaches, although they respect each other, this has been a rivalry that has been brewing for years since Harbaugh was a player. So we get to see it relived again, this time on a new scale, this time again in new areas, and this time against two teams who we know have a disdain for one another, that we know will see each other twice throughout the year. This is all about old-fashioned hate. The division makes it what makes the hatred strong. But not only does the division make the hatred strong, these two coaches and what they mean to one another and their history together. This is going to be one of the best revenge games we'll ever see in this 2025 season, as it ushers in a new era for both teams heading towards a new direction. Now we get out of revenge games and we move on to chess matches. These are games of a battle of the minds, games between X's and O's. And what do we love more about these? Who gets the upper hand, offense or defense? This is what we all love to see. So here's my first chess match game. We're getting a rematch of the Super Bowl last year when the Eagles take on the Chiefs in week 2 in Arrowhead Stadium, right? Let's take a walk down memory lane. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs got steamrolled against the Philadelphia Eagles. And what made this the ultimate game? The chess match of Vic Fangio as the Eagles defensive coordinator against Andy Reid, one of the best offensive minds we've seen in the NFL. He was able to counteract anything that the Chiefs did, forcing them to have 3 turnovers. Then on the offensive end, it just seemed like the Philadelphia Eagles couldn't be stopped, putting up a grand 40 points to winning the Super Bowl. So this is where it gets fun. Who's learned from their lessons? How can someone be better than the other? What's new tricks that Philadelphia Eagles have up their sleeves with this defense? This defensive line already looks good. They already had added more to the roster. They've already drafted great DBs. How can the Chiefs overcome this? The offensive line didn't look that great. Over the offseason, they made some moves very aggressively to retool that offensive line. How can they keep Patrick Mahomes up? Is the run game going to look more improved? How will the receivers look? So this is a game of X's and O's, and this is by far a game of minds. How many audibles, ups, downs, left, right? How many counter punches are we going to see? One of the best boxing matches in football that we are probably going to see this year. Next up on this list, sometimes the numbers tells the story. And these numbers were so astonishing that when these teams meet again, they just have to run it back. What happens when you get the most prolific offense taking on the most dominant defense? That's what we'll see in week 3 at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore when the Detroit Lions come down to take on the Baltimore Ravens. And the numbers don't lie. They back it up. The Detroit Lions was the most high-flyingest offense, averaging 33 points a game last season, and have a defense that just as well backs it up on the other side of the ball. But as the Baltimore Ravens, they total 425 yards a game, and that includes both air and legs. So when you have one of the best offenses on both sides of the ball, taking on one of the best defenses on both sides of the ball, what can we expect? Now, one of the things that is new to this and new to this equation as a whole is that both of the coordinators for the Detroit Lions have now shipped off to have head coaching jobs, but the Dan Campbell spirit is still there. So that means they're still going to go down and try to break legs. They're still going to go down there and try to bite a couple ankles. So how tough can this game be? The master of minds will show. How high will this score be, or how low will this be? How good will these teams be? The game within the game. Who's going to be more gutsy? Who's going to go for it more on fourth downs? Who's going to use the QB run a little bit more? How often are they going to lean on trick plays? Dan Campbell has made a living having these sneaky plays up his sleeve, where the Baltimore Ravens has just said, we're going to punch you in the face. Whether we're going to do it with Derrick Henry, who had a great season last year, or we'll get a little bit fancy with Lamar Jackson in the run game. The tight ends both being essential for both teams. The defense is working very well and only rushing 4 and dropping the rest. The blitzing, the schemes, who's the X's, the O's. This is by far one of my favorite matchups when we talk about this because it's just a do or die spirit and how high this score is either going to be or how low this score is going to be. That's the question when we talk about these two teams. It's going to be gritty. It's going to be smash mouth. It's going to be old fashioned style football. And for my final chess match, we're going to go back to a repeat of last year. The former number 1 and number 2 overall picks square off again, and we're going to go to Northwest Stadium down in Landover, Maryland, where the Chicago Bears will play the Washington Commanders. That's week 6 in October. Now, this is fun because last time these two teams met, it wasn't a high-flying duel, but it was Jaden Daniels to a Hail Mary that was completed by Noah Brown that changed the game. And that's what sparked the Washington Commanders end up having this magical season. With both these quarterbacks coming in with year 2 expectations of seeing improvement and definitely with new rosters that bolster to complement them, what can we expect? But the chess game in this is the offensive minds and that we'll get to see. This game gets really fun because we get to see the creativity on both offensive sides of the ball. Ben Johnson, the former coordinator for the Detroit Lions, is now the head coach of the Chicago Bears. So what type of creative things that he did over in Detroit that he's going to bring over to Chicago? What use of the tight end game that he used over there is going to help Caleb Williams? What use of the running backs he's going to use to help Caleb Williams? All these things can be said. But then the same thing goes for Jaden Daniels. Cliff Kingsbury was the offensive coordinator last year. He still remains. What more creative things can he do to that offense that he already added to last year? One thing that I will say about these two great offensive minds, you can expect to see a lot of motions, a lot of use of the tight end, and a lot of quick game. But then every now and again, we're going to see a surprise. It's just a matter of who pulls it out their back pocket first. And lastly, we have playoff caliber showdowns. Although these are regular season games, every time these teams are going to step on the field this season, it all has this playoff style feel. It all has this tense energy that this can either make or break your season, or this can either help you in the seeding for the playoffs, kick someone out. So when we talk about these games, imagine the energy we're going to get for a regular season and a chance that these teams could meet again on their way to a Lombardi trophy. Let's start again. Week 1, Ravens, Bills. I already talked about the gauntlet that Josh Allen has to go through. He has to start off against Lamar Jackson. Last time these teams met, they met twice last year. Lamar Jackson may have won the battle in the regular season, but Josh Allen won the war, not only winning in the playoffs, but walking away with that MVP trophy. So now let's see what these teams are going to look like going into this year. Can Josh Allen back up his MVP caliber season and start off strong against one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league? Also, what will these defenses look like? Last time these teams played, the first time, Baltimore easily dominated the Buffalo Bills. Then we got to the playoffs. We noticed the adjustments were made. So how will this kick off the season? What is the goals going to look like? How will this set the tone for these two teams going forward? And what will it look like if we were to see these teams again in the playoffs? So we already start off week 1 with this high, thunderous, intense matchup. Next up on this list, I know you guys are probably tired of me mentioning the Buffalo Bills, but they have another one in week 12 in November in RFG Stadium. They go take on the Houston Texans. Now, I've already talked about Buffalo and what they have to go up against, but pretty much everyone on their team has a playoff field. But why is this one special? Houston Texans. This team has already been to the playoffs in back-to-back years under CJ Stroud, who's going into year 3. How much fun is this team going to look? DeMeco Ryan has led this team as a masterful head coach in his first 3 years and has created dominating defense, mixing a great blend of old and young talent together. The receiving core for this team is looking great every year. So what else do they go do? They go bolster the running back room if you're the Texans. They go add Nick Chubb and pair him up with Joe Mixon. That's thunder and lightning. Now, again, we have to see how Nick Chubb is going to fare. He's coming off that season-ending injury, but he's starting to look good based off those Instagram videos and some of those things that we're seeing on him training. So we are going to see a 1-2 punch on that offensive side of the ball when they will take on against that Buffalo Bills defense. And again, these are all games that we could see again in the playoffs. And just think of how the crowd is going to feel, how energized they're going to be, how juiced they're going to be. Don't let CJ Stroud get hot. Don't let Josh Allen get hot. We could see the stadium crowd emotion swing from hot to cold, 0 to 100 very fast. And this again makes it one of the best playoff matchups we're going to see. You guys know I couldn't end off these playoff caliber showdowns without at least looking at the NFC one more time, right? So, out of all the games, I got one that not everyone's going to think about. Let's look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Los Angeles Rams week 12 in November in SoFi Stadium. Now, think of the storylines for all these games, right? So many things that's going to happen. But for this one specifically, they've duked it out several times. This can either change the playoff standings, kick one team out, bolster another team in. And as close as the NFC race is when you get on the back end, when you look at 5, 6, and 7, these two teams are usually in that race. Not always ones to win the division outright, but definitely always the ones that are in wild card positioning. Also, is this Matt Stafford's last ride? We know he's contemplated retirement. He did get his new contract, but at one point, he also thought about heading over to another team. Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been looking good, but they just haven't been able to find that playoff edge yet. So how does this set them up? This puts them in the mindset of understanding what does it take to beat a playoff caliber team and not just another regular season team. Although the Buccaneers division may not be the strongest, it is the most open. So it also helps them in their own divisional race. Same thing goes for the Rams. So when you look at this game right here specifically, how does Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers offense will look coming out the gate? Will this show them how it looks like to beat playoff caliber talent? And for Matthew Stafford and the Rams, is this his last ride? Could we see him go out on a blaze of glory of this season and make this one the best season we've ever seen with him and Sean McVay? Or is this a start of seeing a new trend, a new era rise as Tampa Bay is trying to get themselves back involved? This is what makes this game the best, because although nothing really changes in between their own two divisions, but between these two teams alone, they'll be jockeying for position. So there you guys have it. We're going to have a multitude of NFL games this season, 272 specifically. But of all of those are my best matchups that we should be looking forward to in this season. And I know there's still a lot of meat on the bone, but this is just the appetizer. Soon enough, we'll be loaded up and ready for September 4th when the Cowboys play the Eagles on Thursday night. So until then, I'll see you guys next time. And get ready. Training camp's here. Let's enjoy some preseason while we have it. Because when it's gone, it's going to be good. So I'll see you guys at the next video. Tell me what games are you anticipated to see. Tell me some storylines that I might have missed. What are you excited to see? Like, share, leave a comment. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.